Gosh, are we going to get a giant, we're going to have to get like a giant credit from the state in 2020 for our disposal numbers. Because everybody is generating a hell of a lot more waste because they're home more. So we're going to have to ask Cal Recycle for some grace for 2020.
Yeah. That's the crazy thing is that from a policy standpoint, they pretend like COVID somehow is that doesn't have any effect on people's disposal habits. It's been quite the swing.
Well, your service is really good lately, Josh.
Well, that's good to hear because I unfortunately, due to COVID, have been dealing with my fair share of folks that unfortunately we haven't been able to get to on a timely basis to no fault of our own. You know, when you're short-staffed, you have to make other arrangements, and so I'm glad to hear though in Mojave we're staying on top of things.
Yeah. No, I think everybody's having that problem.
Kelly's calling in from Modesto. He looks like what is it, Dexter?
No, I'm not in Modesto. That's incorrect, and I'm not Dexter. But my daughter has a dog named Dexter, and I even actually walked him when she was out of town the other day. So it all comes together, doesn't it?
Where are you then?
I'm virtual, man. I'm virtual. I'm like Bill Beaver, you know. I'm anywhere you want to be in the world.
There you go.
Well, where is that tree?
The picture of that tree behind me?
Yes.
That would be in Groveland, California.
Well, thank you for calling in. I know you're pretty busy with the PPP program, right?
Everybody's busy.
Thanks, Richard, for letting the hospital give a quick presentation. Josh.
Oh, yeah. We can share the screen.
Do that for us. Josh has got a Herculean task of rolling out the community vaccine. And so I'm sure he'd appreciate all your prayers and grace as we roll that out and get folks vaccinated. But it's exciting.
There's nobody I would trust that to more than Josh.
Well said.
So.
Yep. No pressure.
Where do I send the check, Corey?
I know, I got you, man. Don't worry, I got your back.
I'm going to have to jump on this call on the road later. But what time would you like Josh to be teed up to present that, Richard?
Probably doing the catastrophe segment if that works. We switch every other meeting, so usually we do it reverse alphabetical for last one. This one it's towards the end, but if you have a deadline, we can do it before.
Josh is pretty.
I'm looking at my stuff because I do have a lot of things that are going on. I have a couple more incident command calls, so if we could do it in a couple minutes, that would be great. Or
yeah. Why don't we can do it after the after B3K if everyone can see the agenda and before my presentation.
That's great. I'm happy to be the bad guy here, but Josh is actually really running crazy all day today. So he's the one with current information with a really fast moving situation, but I think everybody's going to be really happy to hear what he's working on.
Great, and we're sharing. Josh, you have your PowerPoint. We're sharing. We're out loud. We're sharing screen, so you should be able to show it as well as Rachel with Brookings. Rachel, you have a PowerPoint too, correct?
Yes, I do.
Great. So we'll right after Rachel. There won't be really introductions because obviously we can see everybody that's here. Anybody that's new to the meeting, right? Joe Brennan is, as you see, the new district director for Supervisor Peters, and we have Nicole Landon from Virgin Orbit is on the call too. New. I think this is her first meeting as well.
It's wonderful to see you, Teresa, Linda.
Good to see everyone too. I haven't been on this call in a while, so.
Yeah, good. How are you doing? Great. We have Monica. Monica with AT&T calling. Are you in Monica? Are you down in El Segundo or? Great. Well, why don't we get started? It's 2:05, so everyone can scroll through and see who else is in the meeting. We have about 30 attendees, and we will launch right into this. We have Rachel Barker with the Brookings Institution, and we'll give an update on the B3K, which is the Better Bakersfield Balanced Kern Initiative for Prosperity. So Rachel, if you have, hopefully you can share your screen.
Yeah, let me go ahead and do that. But thank you, Richard, for inviting us to give an update, and especially giving us prime billing here at the top of the meeting. For those of you who I haven't met, I am Rachel Barker with the B3K advisory team from the Brookings Institution, helping this collaborative of regional leaders, a few of which we have on this call. Richard, I see Teresa, I'm sure there's others here if I scroll through, who are really leading this year-long effort to develop this new regional economic development vision for the county. I'll give just sort of an update on where we are in the process, and then I'm going to share a few tidbits from our market assessment with particular resonance for East Kern in advance of that being publicly released within the next few weeks or so. But just to start off with a bit of an update on where we are, this, as I mentioned, is a year-long process. We started sort of last May and June and are just wrapping up the market assessment, research, and discovery phase, which has been a really comprehensive, both quantitative and qualitative look at a number of different dimensions of the region's competitiveness and economic opportunity and other factors that really drive prosperity in the region. A number of you were extremely generous in offering time for interviews and consultation throughout that process, so we're really appreciative of that. As we wind down this research phase, we'll be publicly releasing this market assessment in the next few weeks. We've been in the process of sharing for briefings and feedback with the executive committee and the steering committee, who provided some really good feedback and input to really ground truth our findings. And then as we release that market assessment, we'll be moving into the strategy phase of the project. And that will feature 5 locally led work groups with some really great support from Teresa's team at the county, who will be staffing the work groups, who will be focused on taking 5 areas that came out of this analysis and developing tangible strategies and tactics to advance those economic opportunities in the region. So more information on that to come. But in advance of you all kind of getting access to the full 120 plus slide market assessment, I'm sure, which will, as those of who on the call who've been part of the executive committee and steering committees can attest, takes several days or several evenings to get through. We thought we'd just share with you a few kind of tidbits on the East Kern specific findings. Obviously the assessment was comprehensive of the entire MSA, looking at both Greater Bakersfield and East Kern. But it really became clear to us in both our quantitative analysis and our qualitative interviews and roundtables that there are distinctive strengths and challenges on both sides of the county. So we've been sure at sort of the top of our analysis, and this is the slide you see here, just to make that point that, as I think all of you just intuitively know and know from living in the region and all the work that you do, obviously some different economic drivers on the West Kern side versus the East Kern side. What we saw in the 10-year analysis that we did on the quantitative side from 2009 to 2019. The West Kern side is growing faster in terms of adding jobs, but the East Kern side is a bit stronger on kind of the advanced industries and innovation side, likely owing to all the really incredible aerospace assets on that side of the county and all the activities supporting those installations on both the military and the private side. We just, as we move into work groups, are really encouraging folks to think about how strategies and tactics are customized and really targeted to address East Kern's distinctive needs in addition to the county-wide needs. I just mentioned aerospace. One of the main portions of our analysis is a cluster analysis, which looks at the main drivers of regional economic performance. As you can imagine, oil and gas and ag and logistics are among those that really feature heavily in that analysis. But we also really pull out aerospace, which is obviously concentrated on the East Kern side, but accounts for a really disproportionate amount of the innovation in the region. Nonetheless, despite those really significant strengths and assets, we do find there are some headwinds. You all may have seen that the Space Command headquarters was awarded to Alabama yesterday. That sort of speaks to the fact that there are other aerospace hubs around the country that are competing with the region, and just speaks to the need to really, invest in and support the companies, both on the private side and the military side, and really build out these assets to ensure continued growth in that sector. A few and this is really kind of a selected topics and tidbits, so we're jumping around to some different things that are across this 120 slide analysis we have, but I'll just flag educational attainment. Also, I think, educational attainment and talent are really core to economic success today. Across the region, looking at the region as a whole, Bakersfield ranks the Bakersfield MSA, so all of Kern County, lagged some of its peers in educational attainment. The oil and gas industry obviously played a really significant role in providing opportunity for folks with lower educational attainment, which helped make up for this, but has sort of diminished in some ways as that industry has kind of encountered some headwinds. So this is a really key finding for us, is just the need to focus on educational attainment. But again, just to make that point about the distinctions between East Kern and the greater Bakersfield side, as you can see on this slide, East Kern is doing a lot better in terms of educational attainment than the greater Bakersfield side. Again, likely owing to a lot of the military and innovation and aerospace institutions that are such core drivers of the region's economic success. So those are just a couple kind of topics we wanted to highlight, just to give you a couple kind of tidbits of the full comprehensive analysis to come. There's obviously much more to come, but would welcome, I think Richard mentioned we have time for a couple questions. If you have any reactions to those data points, or to where we are just in terms of the overall process. And I see my colleague Merrick Gutman has joined, so we can also put him in the hot seat if we have some questions, or if he has anything to add.
Well, I think that one of the other elements that is really important to East Kern is the analysis that we did around business dynamism and unlocking the assets compared to other federal R&D intensive, military intensive places. So we looked at 4 comps in that peer category versus economic mixed peers for the regions, for the overarching region. and geographic peers and aspirational areas, and uncovered really, really distinctive untapped potential with existing programmatic activities and existing programs and tools that are available that are not in place in this region, but are entirely transferable from those comps. And so that's one element, particularly if we're talking about aerospace, it's a heavy East Kern emphasis. There are elements of small and mid-sized business activities. There are very precise tactics, the workforce pipeline, et cetera, that are elements that are incorporated into the strategy phase. So I did want to highlight a couple very, very detailed aspects that emerged from both the data in terms of innovation, commercialization, young knowledge-based firms anchored to similar assets as East Kern has, and the potential for much higher performance off of that, which we've talked to some of the leads in the federal R&D space in the region, and they echo that potential and want to engage on it. So just make mention of that. There's so much information; it's hard to parse out what's most helpful to you all. But those seem like pieces of the East Kern. They're particularly interested for East Kern.
Great. Any questions for Rachel or Merrick? And you mentioned the work group, so I probably should know the answer. Are the work groups industry specific, or what are the composition of these groups in terms of how East Kern would be at the table?
Yeah, so each group has roughly, its participation would be roughly 15 to 20 active members, including most often two kind of chairs. And the objective in building those work groups, which is underway now, is to have representation across business, community, education/innovation, and some public sector, and the geography that's relevant. So what we're trying to, we're going through right now, and obviously take input from anybody, including from the executive committee, the steering committee, and all these other constituency groups that we've talked to over the past 5 or so months, is suggestions on representation. One of the key aspects we've discussed in each of these kind of list building exercises is ensure geographic representation as well. And so in the kind of general in entrepreneurship and business supports category across particular size firms and life cycles, emphasis on ensuring that East Kern has some representation in there, either through firms or through intermediaries. The same in each of the categories. Energy is more focused on greater Bakersfield area compared to like aerospace, heavily focused on East Kern. So there's some distribution factors based on the sector areas, but the sector neutral and some of these sectors that relate to both sides of the two nodes in the county's economy, including like manufacturing, we're actively seeking East Kern representation as a criteria for building out the work group participants. So if anybody, I don't know, Rachel, if you mentioned before I jumped on the 5 categories, but there are sector-specific ones and the sector-neutral one, which is about entrepreneurship and business support delivery that's non-specific to a particular industry area. And then we were prioritizing certain aspects of energy, aerospace, component subsectors in manufacturing, and then this other future-oriented category around knowledge services and a heavy emphasis on digital skills, because that's a huge challenge uncovered through job scraping in the region, both sides, but particularly actually in East Kern, in mid-tech as well as in high-tech. So mid-tech being you don't need a 4-year degree for those occupational categories, and high-tech requiring a 4-year degree plus. So we're everywhere from 1 in 5 to 1 in 10 jobs are not being filled in availability in those categories of mid-tech versus high-tech.
Well, thank you. And I hope Merrick, hope all's well in DC. Pretty quiet there now.
I am 7 miles away from the excitement within the city boundary, but I was through downtown today for a meeting, and it was. I have lived in and out of DC. I lived in London when they were getting bombed. The IRA was active, etc. I have not seen DC or any other place so locked down as it is at the moment. Somebody's making a lot of money on barricades, very big barricades. So, but thank you for that. Yes, and I know that we don't have a lot of time here. Obviously, if more information, we only presented very light snippets of stuff. So anybody who's really interested in getting a detailed update, we're happy to talk to a subgroup or individuals, especially if you're interested in getting involved into the strategy phase, even though you haven't seen all of the qualitative and quantitative analysis in public release yet.
And the website, there's a website, right? Is it b3kprosperity.org? Yeah, you can.
Yes, and things will be posted up there. Right now, there's a lot of very community-based outreach going on, and many sessions scheduled through the next week and so. And so after that, we're going to be able to lock in the final public product of all this, and we're parsing it out into. It is massive. It is in some ways too difficult to get through and understand for people who are not economic development professionals. And so we're parsing that out into executive summaries and different elements that if you're an elected official with lots of different topics, or you're a contributor to economic development, that you'll be able to understand what the key drivers are here and how we're coming to conclusions and what the big challenges are to address in the region and position against other places. So anyway, we're happy to give a lot more detail, and we'll come back to and do the full-on description of this for everybody with the release of the final market assessment piece as well.
Great, thank you. Thank you both.
Yep.
All your work. Merrick, if you could reach out to me tomorrow regarding funding.
Okay.
Okay, well, great. Thanks. Stay safe. And next up, we have Josh Pierce. Hopefully you can share your presentation. Let's see.
All right, I'm sharing my screen. Are you guys able to see it?
Okay, yep.
I'll just close a couple of other things I have on here. Thank you guys for letting me go a little bit earlier. I do have another meeting to run to in about 4 minutes. So I just want to go ahead and touch base on a couple things happening at hospitals, a lot of exciting stuff, and a lot of overwhelming and scary kind of stuff that's happening at the same time. But we're definitely responding to the COVID surge well. We've expanded our inpatient availability so we can actually open our extra beds in the hospital. Being a rural health hospital, we're limited by license at 25 beds, but we've actually been able to increase to about 50 beds so that we don't have to turn anyone away. We're not on diversion. We're still able to go ahead and do emergency surgeries as needed. We've elected to hold off on elective surgeries until the end of the month, but we're still able to do all other emergency surgeries. And that way we can just go ahead and focus on taking care of our community, which is the most important thing we can do. So the exciting news that really came out yesterday was that we were able to expand our tiers for our COVID vaccine. We were working on our healthcare inside the hospital, then we moved to another part of the tier where it let us go to do healthcare outside the hospital, and that's what we're doing at the end of the early part of the week. And then as of yesterday, they said, okay, we can now open it up to everyone who is 65 years or older. definitely a lot more of a patient care population that we're taking care of. We're working on really ramping up how we're going to be able to support everyone with doing our COVID vaccines. We're looking at options to do mobile vaccination clinics, focus really on East Kern, to our underserved communities that don't really have the availability of transportation. So that is a high focus of ours right now. But we are in the process of opening our COVID vaccine clinic at the hospital for community members right now. We are still doing all of our COVID testing, all of our nasal swabs. As of 2 weeks ago, we've tested over 7,600 people this year, or last year, into this year. And you can still go ahead and register by calling the 771-8400 number. And we've also expanded that number to be the same number for vaccines, or you can go to the Kern County Public Health website, and then we'll get you into there. So some of the things that change for us operationally, we're unable to allow visitors in our hospital because of the tier and the spread of COVID infection, but we're still open for patients. So we'll still take care of you in the emergency room. We're still doing outpatient labs, imaging, all of our infusions, and we are doing antibody infusions if you are positive with COVID-19 and you're referred to our hospital with a doctor. We're one of a few facilities in the county doing that. It is important. There's a lot of stuff that's come out on the news where there's scarcity of ambulances or resources. We really need to drive home the fact that our hospital is open and our hospital is here for you, and we're here to take care of the community. We really don't want anyone to shy away from the care that they need and then have a worse outcome or situation because they delayed their care. And then finally, I'll let Christina kind of talk about this. She was one of the big partners behind it with our California City clinic expansion and really what it means for our folks in East Kern County.
Thank you, Josh. Yeah, this was a picture that was taken on Monday. Really exciting day. The Kern Health Systems supported us with a $150,000 grant to help us expand and elevate our clinic space in California City. The East Kern Healthcare District also provided a modular building that really allowed us to better serve those patients. It was our smallest clinic and very impacted. We have 2 providers out there and very difficult to see the patient volumes that we needed to under those circumstances. The modular allowed us to move a lot of administrative tasks outside into that modular meeting space for the team, break room, and we gained back an office to see patients. So we want to thank Kern Health Systems for that. And, you know, Linda Parker and Bill Deaver on this call, and they both have also really blessed the investment in East Kern with their contributions to the Mojave Clinic. Bill Deaver contributed through the, Bill, I'm afraid I might get the title wrong.
Mojave Community Medical Center Incorporated. We used to operate the clinic there. We had some money left over. And if we can ever get it to the state to clear the tax part of it, we'll give it to you.
We appreciate it. We're actually well underway with that project, so we're looking forward to getting that $20,000 gift. Linda Parker secured an additional $25,000 from EDF Renewable and another $2,500 from 8 Minute Energy. That actually went into this site you're looking at here in Cal City for an educational television to help really raise awareness about lifestyle-related diseases to a population that really needs to have that access to that information. So really exciting that we're seeing so many different investments through grants, through major gifts, through the community. Just together we do get there. And with everything going on in the world, it's important for us to help folks understand that we are committed to this pandemic and navigating it and caring for our patients, but also looking to the needs in the future and expanding our clinic capacity and elevating care in the most farthest reaches of our service area is really a part of that. So I don't want to take up any more time, but thank you, Richard, for letting us chime in early to share that. I'm going to remain on the call. I know Josh has to jump off, but any questions I'd be happy to answer. But other than that, it's some really great news about the community's investment in the Eastern Kern healthcare scene.
Great, thank you.
I got like a minute left, but I definitely want to answer some questions because I'm sure there's a few about the COVID stuff. did have someone that sent me a chat message, and they had a question about if people from like Edwards Air Force Base or whatever, if they may be living on the LA County side of the base, can come to Kern County to go ahead and get their vaccine. We're not turning people away as long as they're registered for it. We don't necessarily want to have all the influx of other counties coming up here, but we're definitely going to take care of those that are in our region.
Hey, Josh, this is Dave Janis with the China Lake Alliance. I understand that the state, in response to the CDCA changing the distribution priorities, the state's going to announce the plan and order next week. Are you guys ready to adjust to that with respect to the seniors that are expected to be prioritized?
We're currently following day by day, minute by minute. Sometimes we get notification about as the same time as the news does when some of our tiers are changing. So it is an ever flow kind of thing that we're working through, but we are definitely ramping up our operations so we can take care of as many people as we can in our community.
Thank you. And are you getting distribution? Only 1/3 of the vaccines that are coming to the state have made it out yet. Are you guys getting sufficient numbers, your allocation?
For what we have right now, yes, we were able to take care of our staff and then start to work on healthcare outside the community. Within a very short time period, they went ahead and said it's open to 65 and older, which is a different patient population than we were expecting this soon. So we are working on getting more allocation to us, but right now we're in a safe space and we can vaccinate the community.
Thank you very much.
Thank you for your time.
Great, thank you. And what is it? What's the website address, Christina or Josh, for updates?
It's Kern County Public Health. I'm not sure of the exact website.
Okay.
Off the top of my head. Thank you, guys.
Wonderful. Thank you. Great. Well, I will give my presentation. Let me try to see if this will work. Let's see. See if you all can see this. Try to go to this. Great. Everyone can see, or?
Yes.
Great, thank you. Great, well, thanks everyone for coming down. I know Rhonda Perez with AV Edge is here too, so Rhonda, if you can, available for some comments as soon as my presentation wraps up, that'd be wonderful. Let's chat about kind of a overview of labor market. We are, according to November numbers. December's haven't come out yet. County is about 9.1% blue line unemployment, left axis. And you can see in terms of also, there's series, it should say not series, but blue is unemployment rate, and then green is the amount in the labor force. So we are, of course, holding our breath, moving into the 2021. How we thought we'd be post-COVID age era now, but we're still in that holding pattern. And obviously, Kelly's going to talk about the payroll protection program and kind of that second round of stimulus and how that can help hold up our economy moving forward. Interesting website I go to almost every day. It's called tracktherecovery.org, and you can see this is actually they measure consumer spending the metro area, so it's always they have Kern County data, consumer spending, employment in various sectors, as well as job postings. So you can see, interestingly enough, I'm not sure how they monitor this time spent outside the house compared to January of last year. So this is basically January to January, and we're down by 11.5%. But you can see California as a whole is 19% versus last year at this time. LA and San Francisco, and in past presentations I talked about we have more essential jobs in Kern County than any economy in the state. Obviously, government, oil, ag, you name it, and so these are actually 67% of our jobs are considered essential. So this again kind of reflects, but we're still down about 11.5, and so we'll keep that. They monitor that on a monthly basis, actually weekly, sorry. So you can check out tracktherecovery.org. Next slide, we have our market overview. I'll post the link that was just released. I know Sophia is on the call, did a fabulous job heading that up, and we use local town as always. And so we again will post the link on our website or on the chat as well. And so looking at interestingly enough, and not everyone I talk to knows this, but our Kern County is the largest economy in the San Joaquin Valley. If you look at the 8 counties, we are about 51.5 billion. These are 2019. So of course, 2020 numbers, we'll see if there's a significant decrease, but we grew at about 4%, 18 versus 19. So we were actually really well positioned moving in March of last year, one of the best performing economies in the country. But you can see we're about 10% larger than Fresno County. Obviously, our population is less than Fresno County, about 900. They're closer to 1 million, 900,000 versus 1 million. But these are things that we go at about promoting our county, and 7th largest in terms of metros, GDP, and the 60th largest in the country. And this is Bureau of Economic Analysis data. Again, this is in our market overview. A couple other things. We do a big top 10 list, kind of just do a screenshot of those. Some of our amazing accolades. And as the Brookings folks are finding out, talking about our assets, obviously, how do we enhance and build upon that? But again, some of our top 10 list, we really love promoting that. And then just another kind of, what is our business advantage? It's really that location next to a $1 trillion economy, and more obviously business friendly than, frankly, any county that I know of in the state, if not the West Coast. And so this is something that public-private coalition much stronger here than where I've seen. So wanted to talk quickly about I always kind of what is the topic of the du jour of the day, and what is the continual element that we deal with, we have dealt with for the last decade, workforce skills, right? What are the number one site selection criteria? And as Melinda knows, that leads up our business development outreach. This is really driving. This will drive the future of economic development, and it's a nationwide issue. And you can see number 5 actually is workforce development, and it's that quality. And then how do we work at talent attraction, retention? And I know Christina Scribner's on our foundation board, so some of these next slides will be familiar. But our foundation is a partner organization, C3, the symposium and the like. And so one of the things we're going to move forward on, I think we'd love to pick your brains, is creating basically an internship portal between business and education. And I know we have these folks at the table right now in government. Why are internships important? Why is it something that other areas are embracing, and we don't really have this significant clearinghouse right now? If you look at employers when they hire, we have a mentoring program which is well renowned, but what is the number one criteria that employers look for? And it's frankly not GPA, so it is by a factor of 3 times more internships. Did these students intern during college? Of course, you hear, you should intern a couple summers, and then one summer you travel abroad and find yourself, but that's fine. But the interns are kind of just the secret sauce, and even employment during college falls into that category. So this is from the Chronicle of Higher Education, and then looking at almost 67% of interns were offered a full-time position at the employer. Again, this all comes down to talent retention. We want to attract talent here, but how do we keep our students here right when they're on the cusp of getting either a 2 or 4 year degree? And so you can see versus 44% did not have an internship. So it's a clear correlation between internships and, frankly, future success. And then from the Chronicle of Higher Ed, looking at by industry, what's the most important factor? And you can see again, internships are kind of that pink square, far and away. So not to say you're going to slack off and get, your GPA is not important, but you can see it's really making sure these students have these soft skills and tech skills, have been in the workplace. That is the most important, as we're seeing. And then we looked at a couple of other areas. So the point being is other areas are embracing this type of program as important to the sustainability of the region. So you have Buffalo. Buffalo it's called Yes Buffalo. And you can see, the City Foundation sponsors that. I like this one because we talk a lot about KITE, Kern Initiative for Town Entrepreneurship. This pairs up startup companies with students. So obviously these students, their wages are not going to be as high as someone that would work full-time out of college, but this is San Antonio Area Foundation. They're in charge of this, and so they match students with employers. And so we're looking at these best practices. We're right now interviewing and talking to plan to talk to the folks in these regions that were the catalyst for these programs, and then we're doing that deep dive here. What do we have here? We haven't seen anything similar, much like the symposium that was created. And then there's Philadelphia, where you match up. Kind of find that they're focused again on talent retention, not losing these 2- and 4-year degree grads, and so these portals exist and these platforms exist. So you're more to come on this. It's obviously foundations, not Kern EDC, but again for us, economic development workforce is as Merrick mentioned. We have jobs that are available that are not being filled. So could these type of programs help address some of those issues? And then wrapping up, I talked about our podcast with MoneyWise guys. We had Golden Queen. We're going to have many more new episodes in succession in January, February. Kern River Brewing, as well as Jim Arnold with Triassic. I'm not sure he has interviewed yet, but he's in the queue. So I guess 2 out of 3 of those are alcohol related, but we will do more industry sectors as well. And we want to hear from you and your community. If you have a company, we would love that the entrepreneurship stories. Good storytellers are great. I mean, Jim, Golden Queen folks, and Rebecca Giddens at the Kern River. They're great storytellers, and so this is the purpose of saying why did they pick Kern County, and why did they love it here. And so they're talking. There are no scripts, and it's really organic and free flowing. So about 17 minutes long per episode. Podcast on KGT. Now Chair Philip Peters will be basically more of an interview talking about his vision moving forward. So that will air on KGT, but it will be streaming live on the website. I know parts of East Kern do not get KGT, and then we will send out the video that's Monday after that event. So.
And struggling to find doctors and nurses to fill their shifts. So they continue to be where everybody else is in this pandemic. Antelope Valley Hospital has gotten support through the City of Lancaster, through FEMA, as well as the Samaritan's Purse. That has made national news. Reverend Graham has come in along with Mayor Paris and walked the site. It provides 80 beds for those that do not need to be intubated but do need oxygen. Antelope Valley Hospital reports about 150 in care right now, overflowing out into the parking lot at this point in time. So that will be here for at least the next 2 months. That comes pretty much turnkey. They are looking for additional nurses and doctors as well. Anecdotally, we've heard down here that there's some hospitals in the Bay Area paying over $200 an hour for nurses. So we're seeing a little bit of an exodus down here because we can't match those rates. So working with the hospitals, putting the call out with that as well. Have a weekly call with all the aerospace companies, the big three, as well as Edwards Air Force Base, Virgin Galactic, JT4, everybody at Mojave Air and Space for the most part, where they're assisting with oxygen and any other PPE that needs to be secured from the hospital, as well as Plant 42 is where they flew the DC-8 in for Samaritan's Purse. So it's really a community effort down here. Even the aerospace companies are on board with helping with this right now. We've also pushed out some information on some grants specific to LA County. LA County is doing a business technical assistance program for small business here in the coming weeks. There was also a small business PPE event put on at the Antelope Valley Fairgrounds on the north part of our county for any small business that is run out of PPE. That was last Saturday and had a good response there. They may do it again if there's enough left over to warrant it. And again, that's open to any small business that requires additional PPE. We also, the SBA also announced, and I think you may have mentioned this, the extension of their business loans through December 2021, the Paycheck Protection Program, the Economic Injury Disaster Loan, and all of the other loans associated. So we're pushing that information out as well. Last thing for me is we have our annual Business Outlook Conference Winter Forum. We're going to be doing 2 of these this year in a much different format. The first one is obviously 100% virtual. That's going to be held on February 24th, the last Wednesday in February, from 10 a.m. to noon. 3 topics will be the sort of large announcement about AV Edge and who and what we are, which is requiring quite a bit of work on our side. This is like starting a brand new organization. Everything from the ground up has to be recreated. And then we are doing a moderated panel of the unintended benefits of COVID-19 on business and industry and things like that. It's being moderated by Jeff Michaels, who's an NBC anchor, and the panel consists of Jeff Babione, who is the Vice President of Skunkworks here at Lockheed, as well as Miller Phipps, who is the President of Kaiser Southern California, and Mr. Pinheiro, who is in the tech industry out of New York, all industry experts to talk about some, like I mentioned, the unintended benefits of COVID-19. For instance, in the tech industry, they have made some advances in the last 6 months that they didn't anticipate rolling out for the next 10 years that were forced forward by COVID and the ingenuity and the creativity and the pivot requirements that COVID brought upon us. So I think that's going to be very exciting. And then we close with a familiar name, Peter Zeihan, who's going to tie it all together for us. Again, that is on the 24th from 10 to 12. Tickets go on sale on the 20th. And we are also launching our new website tomorrow. Hopefully this one will be a lot more user-friendly and actually come up when you Google it. And we'll keep building on that in the coming days. Our roundtable report is coming out in conjunction with the concert as well, with a new look and feel. So all things are pointing well for us. We're integrating ourselves back into the community as this new entity and looking ahead toward the future and post-COVID and looking to have a great impact in the region.
Great, thank you. Thanks, Ron. A lot of good stuff. Next, we have Teresa Hiscock, Kern County. I know she just posted a update of rural business development grant opportunities.
Good afternoon, everyone. It's great to see everybody here, and it's nice that you're getting such a good turnout, especially over this kind of virtual platform. As Richard mentioned, I did put in the chat an opportunity for the U.S. Agriculture Business Development Grant. It is available to communities under 50,000 in population, so that's cities or communities. It's also available for nonprofit organizations, and the information about eligibility and exactly what that grant can cover are in the post that I put in the chat. I know Merrick talked about B3K, and as a part of that, we're also updating the county's comprehensive economic development strategy. And I know it sounds redundant, but the B3K project is really a holistic project to identify strategies to improve the economic prosperity of all Kern County. The Comprehensive Economic Development Strategy is a document that's required by the Economic Development Administration for eligibility for their grant funding programs. The county is currently eligible at the 50% level. We're doing another update to our SEDS right now. We expect that we will be eligible at the 50% level again in the next round. Remember, that's a continuous funding grant. So if any of the small communities or any of the communities in East Kern have a need for an infrastructure project to support economic development, that grant program is available for you as well. We're also working on our 4-year workforce development plan right now, and we will be focusing on areas identified through the B3K process to ensure that we are training folks for the future jobs that we hope to attract to our area. In addition to that, right now we have a supportive services grant that can help offset the cost of capability or telework equipment for folks who've been affected. So if you have folks in your area, please refer them to America's Job Center of Kern if you need financial assistance. And then in addition to that, we are working with the South Bay Workforce Development Board. They have an aerospace apprenticeship program that they've been running in their area, and it's my understanding that some of our aerospace companies in East Kern have expressed an interest in that apprenticeship program in order to train folks to work in the aerospace industries. So we are working with them to see how we might partner in order to bring that apprenticeship program into Kern County. I think James Zervis is on the call as well, and Jim may have some updates on the county's PPE program, or also on the small business or small nonprofit loans that the county did. I don't know if Jim wants to add anything.
Thanks, Teresa. I wasn't planning on speaking. In fact, this is the first time I've been. Let me actually start with you. This is the first time I've been on this call. Really just to kind of get to know some of the personalities and understanding the roles. For those of you that don't know me, I'm the Chief Operations Officer out of the CAO's office. And so it's my pleasure to be able to be here and kind of understand a little bit about this group and the things that you're working on, and hear some more about some of the B3K activities as they relate to that. So Teresa, I don't have a lot to share. I will say, the county has been providing free PPE to small businesses throughout Kern County. That program, which started in July, was initially planned to run 60 days, and really through some aggressive pricing and some kind of big operational lifts from our county folks in being able to make these distributions available throughout the county. We've been able to extend that. That program is set to expire at the end of this month. So if there are businesses that are still in need, I would encourage you to reach out to the county through the Kern Recovers website. You can get free PPE to support any of the local small businesses, and there's a number of pickup sites. Along those lines, we've brought to conclusion a couple economic support programs. We've had a forgivable loan program that's run its course, and we're currently in the forgiveness process and working with a number of businesses through that forgiveness process, and that seems to be going well. And had a successful round of grants to various nonprofit organizations throughout Kern County, and I provided a little over $1 million in nonprofit grants to support those nonprofits operating here in Kern County in all the different communities. Bakersfield joined us in that effort and I think provided a similar amount of money. So it's been, that's been our pleasure to be able to do that. And it seems like good timing to have the federal PPP program restart to bring some additional aid as our county's ability to do that. The funds that we've had have really run its course, and currently really focusing our efforts on vaccinations and ongoing testing and some big efforts in that regard throughout the county. So I know that doesn't help necessarily from an economic development standpoint directly. Indirectly, we think the sooner that we can get people vaccinated, we can get the economies reopened and get businesses functioning again. And so hopefully indirectly that provides some support. So, I'm here. I can answer questions, but again, I appreciate being on the call, and I look forward to joining you on some future calls as well. Thank you.
Great. Well, thanks, Jim and Teresa. Next, Kelly Bearden, are you calling in from Groveland, California?
You're getting warmer. Well, good afternoon, everybody. I hope everybody's having a great 2001. And it's off to a bang, isn't it? Yesterday, we saw the conclusion of the first round of the California Relief Grant Program. Many of you might have heard about this. It was a $500 million program in 2 rounds. It didn't go off without a hitch. It was actually done by Lindustry, which is a fintech CDFI, Community Development Financial Institution. And there was a number of people who ran into problems getting in. Fortunately, I think the majority of them got in before the deadline last night at midnight. For those that did get in, they will be finding out in about a week if they were one of the $5,000, $15,000, or $25,000 recipients. We expect the program to be significantly oversold and actually very competitive. So just by the demand that we were getting and just dozens and dozens of calls every day on the particular program. So that is actually coming to an end, the first round. The second round will open, I believe, on Groundhog Day and run for 6 days until February 8th. We do have the reopening of the PPP, both for new first-time filers. It hadn't been open since August the 8th. And so there's new first-time filers, including 501c6s, nonprofit organizations such as chambers of commerce, economic development groups, and others, membership-based organizations that can now get in for the first time. In addition, there's a number of other businesses that can get in, including media-type businesses. So we're encouraging people who might not have taken advantage of it the first time because of maybe a variety of reasons. Maybe they didn't have their paperwork done, their tax returns. Maybe they were a little leery about jumping into a program that didn't have all the rules clearly defined when the program kicked off. So anyway, those are started, and that is wide now, so everybody is open. Tomorrow will be the second draw, and the second draw is for hard-hit industries, and so that is kind of defined by a 25% reduction, in any quarter of 2019 compared to 2020. So those that are in hard-hit industries will be able to access about 40% more than they did. And those are defined by hospitality industries that are with the NACE code starting with 7.2. So basically hotels and about a lot of different food businesses. It's about 1 million businesses across the country that can access that. So there's a couple of things that we're a little concerned about. One of them is they had to spend all of their first round PPP money, and they could not have spent any of it out for an ineligible activity. It was for payroll and about 5 other expenses. If they've used it for some other purpose other than that, they will not be able to access round 2. So we're working with them and getting a lot of them on the forgiveness side of things. Our consultants are extremely busy. The good thing is they're also working with some newer projects and also some individuals that are demanding or requesting technical assistance that are not really impacted by the pandemic. So we're continuing to do our Wednesday webinar. You could probably figure out, Richard, which day of the week that's on. This will be our 45th consecutive this Wednesday. So that's about what's going on at the SBDC.
Allie, I think Eric, the mayor, has a question.
This is my first meeting, and thank you for the briefing. I just wanted to add a little bit of clarification. So we are one of those PPP lenders, and I wanted to just add a little bit of clarification to the description of the hardest hit. It can actually be any business that has shown a 25% reduction in any single quarter 2019. So we have our little shop is we did about 87 loans. We've already qualified 61 of those 87 for second draw. So there is a much larger proportion of second draw available than there was than maybe we were discussing. I just want to make sure that was that it's not as limited to just that NAIC code, but it's any industry that can reflect any business that can reflect a 25% reduction or greater. Loan is greater than less than 150,000. They do not have to provide that evidence at the time of funding or time of application or submission. Those are notes for small businesses out there.
Thanks, Eric, and that's great to hear that you guys are participating. Is Desert Valley's accepting applications now?
It's Monday, waiting for the, that was another thing, is the window for applying begins tomorrow for institutions less than $1 billion, and on Tuesday for institutions greater than $1 billion. So we're kind of expecting the flood of apps, the larger fintech players to come into the mix next Tuesday, but the small regional institutions all kind of have a window between now and Tuesday and Monday to get all of our applications in. So we've got people preparing applications all week.
Great. We will add you, because we're keeping a list of participating Kern County lenders. We will add Desert Valleys to that list and let clients know when you guys are opening up.
A lot of time studying this thing and living it for the last year, so it's just not trying to point out specific things, but just making sure that for the small business community, there's no opportunity there just for everyone to know.
Great, thank you. Kelly, did you have any final comments?
No. Thank
you.
You.
Look forward to seeing you in Kern County one day.
Yeah.
Great. Well, next, District 1. I know Joe. Joe's on the line. I don't know Philip too, but Joe, updates from District 1.
We are. Let me see if I can. The video starting. We are currently. Philip is Supervisor Peters is taking a lot of meetings and getting to know a lot of people in this capacity. So, as far as updates, isn't much from us right now. We're. I'm sure most of you will know Supervisor Peters will be the chair this year. It's his turn on the rotation, so we look forward to being in that capacity and looking forward to getting to meet a lot of you in the coming years. So, thank you for the opportunity.
Great, and we'll hear again Chairman Peters' interview or commentary on January 30th. So, unfortunately, we couldn't be at the fairgrounds with 400 of our favorite friends. A little different. Okay, great. Well, District 2. Okay. Boron. I'm not sure. We have Rio Tinto. Let's see if I see Mary Beth or Nate. And we appreciate Boron as Rio Tinto. I guess it's Borate Lithium as the presenting sponsor for the state of the county. So appreciate their support. California City.
I don't have any updated info at this time. We're in the works with several programs to start moving forward on some things, but the city management is working with that and city planner, and our planning commission was just sworn in on Tuesday. So there was a delay on that end. We are actually working with a lot of impediments, but I hope moving forward we get something on the next update. We could actually update you on something that actually took place or something exciting to bring to the conversation.
Okay, thanks, Kelly. I know Dave Smith. Any Edwards? Edwards update?
Yeah, no specific update. We are still in our appropriate cold protection condition. So we are limiting access to the installation key and essential, but we're hoping to move out rapidly on vaccinations. Over.
Okay, great. Thanks, Dave. Oh, I see a hand. Eric, Mayor has a question. Or maybe that's the previous hand up. Okay. Next, Kern River Valley. I know Justin. How's everything in the valley?
Oh, everything's pretty good. Let's see what's new. Everybody's favorite co-working space is moving to a new location at the end of in mid-February. We're going to be out in on the main boulevard, which is pretty exciting. We were having some conversations with the Forest Service and BLM. As many of you know, over the summer we got a tsunami of visitors all trying to get away from the city and get some fresh air. And so they went from being stacked up on top of each other in the city to being stacked up on top of each other here. So they're working on right now. They're working on mitigating the effects of that. So there's some areas where they have to do some revegetation management, but also kind of preparing for the same thing next summer. What we're kind of expecting is that this flow of tourists and people wanting to get out into the outdoors is probably going to continue and ripple for quite some time. So that means kind of staffing up our availability and capacity up here for those tourists. We've got some large commercial battery installations that are going in at the hospital and at the Owens Boys Camp. Those are being provided in part through a program with the CPUC. So those entities are getting those essentially free of charge. So that's a new great program that's happening. If anybody's interested in getting kind of a similar deal for any of their installations, let me know and I can hook you up with those details. And I think that's about all we got.
Justin, so you're moving to a new site. Is that going to be a larger facility?
It'll actually be slightly smaller, but it'll have more private offices. So a little bit more diversified, and I think it'll give us a good launching point to if we want to go to a multi-building campus.
You guys were talking a little while ago about doing things to help expand the industry, especially aerospace in East Kern County. Well, the biggest problem we have ever since we started the airport district was getting people from Sacramento to come down here. The last governor that came down here kicking and screaming was Schwarzenegger, and the only reason he came was because Bill, the governor of New Mexico, came in and kind of brought him in. So, but the community's working. One of our most important other businesses is in the picture behind me, that Soledad Mountain, the Golden Queen Mining Company, and so I'll leave it to the young lady from Virgin Galactic and Amanda, if she's here, if they've got some more stuff on the Mojave here. We're having beautiful weather out here, by the way.
Yeah, thanks, Bill. Yeah, not to put, let's see if she is on. Is it Nicole? Nicole, did you, not to put you on the spot, any update? Let me double check. Okay, well, if let me know later on in the meeting if you have some comments. So
sorry about that. I was trying to unmute.
No, sorry. Yes, I'm sorry to put you on the spot.
Yeah, I am on the spot a little bit. First time joining this meeting and wasn't quite sure what I was getting into, but find it actually very interesting. So I'm in the facilities role here in Mojave for Virgin Orbit. Just recently stepped into a little bit more of a role in it because my predecessor has left, and probably not backfilling him at this point. We are ramping up for our second demo launch out here, probably within the next several days, knock on wood. But other than that, we're plugging along. We've got some new hires coming on, some interviews today, so things are still moving, even though we're getting a little setback with the COVID and having to space out a little bit. That's really all I have at the moment.
Great, thank you. Hope to see you in 2 months. Ridgecrest?
Hey, Richard. Hi, Melissa. I'm going to just do a quick introduction, and I'm going to let you be the leader, okay?
Of course, I was going to introduce you, Mr. Mayor.
Well, I already said hi, so I just was going to say hi, and then I was going to let Melissa be the speaker. But thank you for letting me be here, and thank you for the opportunity. This is my first time with the Eastern Kern EDC. I am Eric Bruin. I'm the CEO for Desert Valleys Federal Credit Union. I've worked with some of you in different capacities. Christina knows me from way back when I actually was young. And her. But I'm just looking forward to working with you guys and doing everything we can to make Eastern Kern as vibrant as possible. It's an incredible region and area. And with that, I'm going to let Melissa give the report on everything that's happening here in the earthquake recovery. And thank you and look forward to being around over the next few meetings.
Thanks, Mayor. Congratulations.
All right. Well, I hope everybody had a great holiday. Rest up and hopefully we come out of COVID sooner rather than later. I have a few updates on the city end, and then I know Dave Janik wanted to speak on our industry day that we were going to be having, and some more Navy updates. So we have a few interesting grants that we're working on, specifically COVID related. We have a CDBG grant that we're working with the county on. We're purchasing for our local restaurants, we're purchasing equipment so that they can convert to outdoor dining. I know that I had mentioned it previously at the last meeting, but we are now moving forward. We've purchased all the equipment, and we're basically just waiting on some forms from the local businesses, and then we're ready to distribute. So that's something very, very exciting for our local restaurants. And then a few other grants that we've been working on. I have mentioned the EV charger grant previously as well. And we are coordinating with our police department so that we can move forward and possibly move into the space of electric vehicles for the PD sooner rather than later. So that the project will be under construction within the next few months. I also have been working on a military resilience grant with China Lake, and we are basically looking to identify points of failure in the area to further solidify security here in Ridgecrest and in China Lake. And then just a couple more updates on the other grants that we've been working on. Our engineering design standards and our housing element and our general plan will be updated through the LEAP grant, and it'll be funded through that. So that's very, very exciting. And then lastly, our Chamber of Commerce will be putting up their electronic sign that has been revamped, and it should be ready by January 27th. And so that's the extent of my updates. And Dave, if you want to take it away for the Navy end.
Yeah, just briefly. Thank you, Melissa and Eric. The major update is that the National Defense Authorization Act and the appropriations bills for funding for fiscal 2021, which we're already in, were approved over Christmas vacation, and after some drama was signed by the president. So with that, the Navy has full funding on board, not only for the military construction major projects that are funded between fiscal 20 and 21 to a tune of $2.4 billion, but also the additional monies in other budget lines of the defense budget that total just over $3 billion so far. That's including the $2.4 billion MILCON and the rest of the coverage that is not major MILCON and therefore a separate budget item. So it's on schedule. They have maintained since they started the very ambitious schedule they had for contracting for those major MilCons. All the fiscal 20s were awarded, and they're starting, and the workforce is arriving for those. And there has been a lot of several hundred folks in town over the last several months that were absorbed by the town. But the fiscal 21 major MilCons total about $1 billion. That's the remainder after the fiscal 20 of that $2.4 billion. And those are going online out for RFP, request for proposals back from the major contractors as we speak. And for last year's tranche, the fiscal 20, we held an industry day in February with the Navy and the city, and there were about 600 people 600 folks, interested parties at that, in which the major constructors that were competing for the contracts and all the potential sub contracts and local labor, that totaled the 600, and that was a record for the Navy in the Western region. They are intending to do the repeat of that for all the fiscal 21, the $1 billion in major MilCons, but obviously they can't hold it in person. So we've been working with the Navy and the city and others over the last several weeks, actually, in prototyping a system that would work with Navy computers and everyone else that may want to access it. And they made the formal announcement last night and put it out on the internet. It's going to be January 27th, and it's a government WebEx, but everybody that's interested will be able to register and apply. And so that's interested labor, school district, medical, et cetera, that is interested in the Navy. The Navy will begin by laying out the program for about $1 billion in major construction contracts that are being awarded this year. The city will talk about services and folks that provide connection service in the city, and from a commercial standpoint as well, city, county, and all those types of issues. And then the major contractors will present their approach and contact information so the subs can get with them downstream with this. So it's going to be a plenary session that is hosted online, and we'll get out the information. It will require registration in order to log in, but it's open to all those organizations. Now, that's January 27th, so that's coming up pretty soon, and we are anticipating over 700 folks to call in, to dial into that. So, second item update I have, with the arrival of the large workforce that's going to execute the rest of the fiscal 20 contracts beginning in February that are not here yet. There is a contract was let by the Navy to develop a temporary employee housing camp for up to 850 people outside the gate at the east end of town. And that contract was awarded, and they've been preparing to make that facility available roughly by, I think the deadline, I talked to them this morning, is they're anticipating February 15th. That's roughly a month from now, to be available as they build it up to host 200 employees, and that will build up to be over 850. And there's an option in place to add another about 400 to that. So there are a lot of difficulties in creating a village that is self-contained, which is what it is. You've got to provide all the utilities and services that were not available on that land. It's vacant land. And we're working, Cal's not on the call, but for example, power, SCE, we've got water, sewer. And by the way, sewer was one of the difficult ones. So that is proceeding on pace. I was out there yesterday, but they've got quite a ways to go to make February 15th. We think they're going to do it. The last update I have is I already covered the virtual industry day, so I have nothing else to say other than the rather ambitious schedule that was embarked upon right after the earthquake. We're right on schedule. The Navy's on schedule. The city is on schedule. The community's really pulling together. We're going to get quite an influx up here that some of them are going to come through your communities on the way up. So we're looking forward to it. Thank you, Melissa.
Thanks, Dave. And I think actually Cal and Jay are on the call, but not used to seeing Cal being speechless. Next.
Jay's here.
Okay.
Yeah, good afternoon, everyone. I was taking some notes, and I believe I overheard Melissa talking about a charge-ready program for EV chargers. I would like to talk to you offline regarding that. We do have a Charge Ready 2 program that would probably pique your interest at that, and we might be able to direct you to some of our programs that might help you along with that incentive that you're offering to the residents in Ridgecrest. So other than that, just staying busy with businesses that are interested in some of the programs and incentives that we are offering through Edison with our economic development rate. For those that don't know what that is it's a rate for businesses that are either we're trying to retain them in our service territory, or they're looking to expand. And basically what it is a discount over the course of 5 years. So we're getting a lot of traction with that with a lot of businesses in our service territory, trying to keep those jobs in our territory here. So I'm staying busy with that. And so if any guys have any questions, feel free to reach out to me. I'd love to assist where I can. Thanks.
Thanks, Jay. John and Rosamond.
Yes, thank you, Richard. I have four items, exciting items in Rosamond. The first is that Keith Dias, a resident of Rosamond, has been elected president of the Antelope Valley East Kern Water Agency. And he's a very qualified engineer from Edwards. We're very happy to see a native son in the AVEC chairmanship. Number two, Caltrans is rehabilitating Freeway 14, which runs right through Rosamond up almost to Mojave. There's extensive rehab work going on there that'll beautify the whole area. The water reclamation plant, $15 million, is on track to be opening up the end of March. And we're happy about that because Rosamond's water has been curtailed by the adjudication process. And now with this reclaimed water, we will be back almost to where we were before we lost our allocation. And finally, the AV East Kern Historical Society is opening up a Rosamond museum to collect photos and memorabilia from all over East Kern, and that probably will be open in the fall. And that's all I have, and congratulations to Richard for being accepted by Kern County again to his lofty job.
Thanks, John. Great seeing you.
Yeah.
Corey, City of Tehachapi.
Yeah, good afternoon. A couple of things to kind of put a bow on 2020. We saw, despite everything happening, over $6 million in commercial investment permits in 2020. That included the new Panda Express restaurant, 4 other restaurants that actually renovated old spaces. So that was pretty incredible to see in the industry. Real estate prices jumped 10%. The home sales price in the city of Tehachapi was up 10%. And we had a few housing projects that continued with a few older tracts that were sort of revitalized and new homes were built. And then We did have an approval. The address at Tehachapi was approved for their 238 master plan community. So hopefully at some point, maybe this year, they'll break ground. Obviously, they've got to do some engineering work and infrastructure and all that stuff, but they did get their approval in 2020. Walmart continues to attract additional investment. The vacancy rate on anything near them is about to hit 0. Roundtable Pizza, they passed their plan check. They're permit ready for the renovations. What was a Pacino's restaurant that just kind of sits down at the very bottom of the Walmart site, sat vacant for many years. So they're actually permit ready to finish that renovation. Valley Strong Credit Union has broke ground on their new facility on the out parcels of Walmart just up the way. They'll also be creating an additional retail pad for lease as well, so construction is underway on that one. And back to Panda Express, it opened back in December too, and has been a big hit with the community. It's got a great location. I want to touch on Capitol Hills, the area by our hospital. Excitement really continues out there. The Town Place Suites by Marriott continues with construction. They got a little slow just because of COVID and having guys on site, and so that kind of hurt their workforce. But they are continuing with that construction project. There was an approval of another Starbucks and another big projects in the works. It's not quite ready for prime time yet, but soon enough. So we're excited about the development we're seeing in Capitol Hills. Our groundwater sustainability project, it's an indirect potable reuse project. We've been on it for the last couple of years, but it's actually getting to the point where we're going to get to the CEQA point, and we should be getting our first approval from the state of California by the end of the month to really start in earnest on that project. So we're excited about that and what that means for our groundwater basin and recharging our water. We're concluding a new demographic study right now with E-Impact. They're going to show and be able to show Tehachapi's capturing of retail spending of many of our surrounding communities. We know it's happening just by seeing it, but we're trying to get the data to back up the fact that we're seeing a lot of shoppers from California City, Mojave, even Roseman coming up to shop at Tehachapi. So we're going to be releasing that hopefully in the next couple of weeks on our website with an online dashboard. We did launch season 2 officially of Tehachapod, our podcast. Lots of economic development stuff on there always, and we're on Apple, Google, Spotify, iHeartMedia. You name it, we're on it. So we just released the first episode of the second season just the other day. What we expect in 2021, there's new construction headquarters for Bowie Construction. They do a lot of work in the Antelope Valley. They live up here. They're moving their operation here. They got approval last year, but they're actually getting ready to break ground on Bailey Court. Ben just had some amazing meetings in the first couple of weeks of 2021. In the first few days, so many projects have come to the door. It's really encouraging from what we have seen kind of continue despite everything happening around us. And so a lot of folks are reinvesting in Tehachapi after being successful the first time around. And the Sage Ranch, the long-awaited residential project, could receive approval this year. They've kind of made a shift in leadership. They've appointed a gentleman named Paul Morris. He's actually the CEO of Keller Williams Forward Living. They've made him also now the CEO of Sage Ranch to really take over local leadership to help finish the entitlement process and work with us to get the project through to Planning Commission and City Council. So excited about what.
Going once, going twice. Well, we conclude it at 3:30. Perfect timing. So hopefully, probably we won't be able to see each other in person in 2 months, but thanks all for coming today and presenting and listening in, and see you around the water cooler, virtually.
Thanks, Richard.
Thanks.
Thanks, Richard.
Have a great week, rest of the week.
Thank you.
Bye.
Thank you, Richard.
Thank you, Richard.